So today I thought that we could go through this little hobbit that I designed. Anyone who knows me knows that I am a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings. You can see there I've got a little orc that I made there, another one there, and I've done tons of like dwarves and I've done Gandalf and Gimli, Legolas. Yeah, I've done tons, and these hobbits are a lot of fun to make, and they're fairly beginner friendly as well. This is a custom thing. Somebody wanted some willow on the back of them because this is going to be gifted to someone called Willow. Anyway, yeah, so I think we'll make one of these today. I just need to flip all these guys over so they're not taking all the focus from the camera. And let's get started. Okay, so I've just got a 1x1x4 here. They're usually the best size for these guys. It's a little bit shorter this one, but it doesn't matter too much. So I'm not going to bother with measurements and stuff like that. These are things I just kind of gauge by eye. Let me just grab my pencil. So, nice and simple, we're just going to start with removing some triangles from the sides here. Just around, an inch down. So, normal V-cuts in one side, like that. I find that's the easiest way to do them. So, do that on either side, and we'll do one on the back as well, in this similar kind of area. That'll do for the time being. So we're going to make this the front of our little hobbit. So we're going to start to round these in. So these ones that we've just done, the sides and the back, we're going to take these in like this. Knocking those corners off like that. Yeah, got something like that. Okay, so this front face is, apart from the feet, let me grab the piece for you so we can reference. You see it's all rounded or flat apart from the feet here. So we're going to do something similar. Just leave a little space for where the feet can go, just ish. And then the rest of it we're going to round over. So I'm just going to do a stop cut like that. Cut up to it. And flatten from the other side like this. That's fine for now. And add a little bit more roundedness here. So we've added it to these three corners. We're going to join them all together now. So I don't like measurements. I try not to use measurements and stuff when I'm doing my carvings because I think you learn better from just kind of like eyeballing it. Or at least I do anyway. I learn better from just eyeballing things and trusting my kind of, relying more on my eyes and what I'm looking at rather than, measurements of cuts and stuff. Like here, for example, can see here that this is sticking out massively more than this side, and so I'm just going to, you know, reduce some of that material now to match it. But yeah, you know, it just it adds, I feel like it adds more individuality because you're not working off measurements. You're working off just your own back, your own cuts that you're making. Your piece, you know, your piece is going to look, may or may not look pretty different to the one that I'm doing. I mean, this is probably going to look much different to this one. You know, we'll just kind of see, and it's just, you know, it makes it your own, and I like that. You know, I don't want clones of all the same pieces. So I've just got something like that for now. We can always, you know, refine it a little bit more later on. So I think now what we're going to do is we're going to separate the cloak, the shorts and the pants. And I'm just going to kind of gauge these by eye again. So we'll have the cloak, let's say, down to about here. And then the trousers will bring down to about here. So the trousers comes, that line goes all the way around the block, like that. Just try and keep it parallel to this line here. Yeah, and then this one, it just juts out a little bit on the, whoops, keep them parallel. Juts out a little bit from the front here, and then it comes all the way around here. There's a bandsaw mark there that's getting in the way. Just going to ignore that. There. Okay, so we'll do the feet first. And this I do encourage you to do though. Join a line corner to corner at the bottom here. And then do another one the other corners like that. And parallel to this, just do another one, maybe here and here. And this is to keep your feet square, basically, because it gets a bit more difficult as you remove your reference lines, like your corners and stuff that you use to reference what's square. So sometimes the feet can end up kind of going like, you know, skewed one side or the other. So having these lines as a reference just helps you keep everything nice and square. Okay. We need to bring the feet back so that we've got the heels. So that's probably going to come back to about something like that. So we're going to knock all this wood off here. So stop cut and then relieve. When we're doing this bit here, obviously we're cutting down right into the end grain basically, and so the wood wants to split. So you might find it easier to start on the halfway point like there, and then cut it off from here, then come back and do this side. Just find you have a little bit more control with the knife. And let's just do these corners here. Using that line as a reference to make sure that I'm keeping square. So yeah, I absolutely love The Lord of the Rings. You've probably already seen I've got an entire sleeve dedicated to The Lord of the Rings here. This is the Eye of Sauron that Tolkien himself drew. had a friend of mine tattoo that on for me. And yeah, I love the books. I try to read the Lord of the Rings trilogy at least once a year. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. And then we just need to relieve the material. Make sure it's relieved all the way around. Now around the front, we need to allow a little bit of space for his little toes here. So yeah, and we've just got something like that for now. And that'll do for now. Right, now we need to relieve some material for his shorts, or his trousers. I'm actually going to bring this line, now that I've done this and I've got a reference, I'm going to bring the cloak up a tiny little bit more, just so that we get a little bit more of those shorts. I don't know why I keep calling them shorts, they're trousers. I suppose they turned up trousers. There we go, I think I like that. So yeah, now we're going to relieve this all the way around. Exactly the same thing. Actually, we need to round over the entire corner first before we do this. So let's do that. Because we're just giving ourselves more work. So I'm just taking this corner off and getting this to round over slightly. So yeah, this was a design that I kind of stumbled across. When I first started, I was kind of experimenting, trying all sorts, and I came up with this little character, with, like I say, with this kind of similar hood to this. And he was just she was just like a kind of hooded figure, kind of like a Little Red Riding Hood type thing, very minimalistic style, kind of folkish, and I really liked it. And I'd kind of like play around it with it and try different adaptations, different kind of accessories that you can add to it and stuff like that. And then suddenly I thought to myself, oh my god, this could make such a great like little hobbit with his hood up. And yeah, that's how I came up with it. And I absolutely love it. Got a bunch of these guys on my boats, just kind of hanging out. There we go. So we just got something like that. Right. What we can do now is let's take these bandsaw marks off. Do this now while it's easy. There we go. Okay. So now I'm just going to roughly put in this cloak. So it's like an open cloak on this guy, you can see here. Got room for customization here. You can close the cloak if you wanted to, or, you know, but I'm just going to do, so I'll just bring it up here like that, and then it curves round, kind of matching his shoulders. Although, actually, looking at this now, you can see the shoulders are a little bit too sharp of an angle. I'm not keen on that, so I'm going to bring that angle in a little bit so that his shoulders look a bit less slanty. Okay, I think that'll do for now. We can always come back and refine later. You want to make sure, well, at least I do anyway, I like to just make sure the foundation is where I want it to before I start adding too much detail. This line here as well, I'm just going to extend it down like that. This kind of mimics the hood coming round. Okay. Right, I think that'll do for now. So yeah, got this little like kind of arch that comes around like this, and it matches on this side. Yeah. And then the hood kind of comes up to here in a straight line and then curves around. Like that. And then, so for the hood, cut from the inside, and that creates a kind of spherical shape inside the hood. And once we've relieved all the way around the line, we can just kind of come back and refine things, smooth out facets. Still a little bit too uneven, so I'm just going to bring in some of these sides, bring in the back of his hood a little bit. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. And now let's continue this relief of the cloak on the front here. This can be done with a V tool. But I always like to stick to a knife. It's a good little detail to do on the knife, just to kind of hone your skills with knife control and scribing and stuff. Not to say there's anything wrong with a V tool. There absolutely isn't. But whatever you do with a V tool can absolutely be done with a knife. Okay. He's pretty rough, but we're getting there. Okay, so now what we can do is around here, we're going to have his little belly. So I'm just going to do like a little curved line like that. And this can be quite a broad V cut like this. Starts getting the roundness of the belly in for him. Yeah. Okay. And then got a line down here, and it also comes straight down there as well to separate the feet. So I think we'll start with the feet. We've got this line here still. Match it down to there. Yeah, this can actually come straight down. So that's his shorts. So again, V cuts, separating the feet. Right, when we're doing V cuts along the top, because we're cutting straight into end grain, the wood has a tendency to want to split here. It's where it's kind of weakest. So you don't want to be applying too much pressure while you're holding the wood that wants to split. Now, one thing I will say, it's never ever happened to me. When you're doing something like that, you ideally want to check the piece of wood, make sure that there's no checks or splits or anything where you're cutting, where there could be a weak point. You should be absolutely fine, but it's always better to kind of just double check and make sure. And you don't want to be applying too much pressure. Okay, rounding over the heels here a little bit, just so they're not square. And let's bring these feet in a little bit more. This bit here is probably what I'd call the most finicky bit of the carve. Basically pushing these toes back and getting this section of the carve here. What you want to do, what I found is the easiest way to do this, is stop cut from one bottom end like that, cut up to it like that, then stop cut from the tops of the feet and do the same thing. Kind of keep doing that and you'll create something close to what you're looking for, and then you can come back in later and refine it. Now obviously, if we made the shots slightly higher up, it'll make this section easier. So that is an option, that's something that we could do. Okay, and let's just separate the feet near the tip here, being extremely careful. Go. Okay, some separation in the pants here. Just going to knock these corners off the tops here, like that. Let's round over these feet slightly. And he's coming along nicely. Separate the shorts on the back as well. Then we're pretty much there now, and it's just details. So for example, on this piece here we've got like a little kind of shirt, but like a pressed buttoned shirt there, and that can just be suggested with a little Y like this. So in there. And you can see our hobbits really coming along nicely. So that is pretty much all there is to it. You know, now we can just come back in, as I say, just touching some of these facets up, cleaning this area up here, making some of these, you know, faces rounder rather than flatter. You know, there's kind of more details that we could add if we wanted to. You know, we can kind of add some like little folds into the pants just with a couple of lines like this. That one there, and then a smaller one here next to it. You know, things like that. But yeah, that's the kind of main version of our little hobbit. So yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you at the next one.